Now, we move on to a topic that shapes this future strategy of talent acquisition, which is nationalization. Our keynote speaker for this session is distinguished leader in their field, a strategist, and an author, an advisor who has dedicated her career to advancing national workforce readiness. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm and respectful welcome to the founder of the Future Advisory and author of Future Proofing Your Workplace, Toobi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Give it up once again for Mustafa Al-Hamwi, please. He deserves a second round of applause. Well done. So I would love to be like him and walk across the stage, best ma yistawi, shela, abaya, heels. It's not going to work. So, oh, sorry, do I have a clicker? Presentation? Okay, while they set everything up, I'm going to start by telling you a little bit of a story. If we can move to the next slide. If I can manage the clicker, please. Thank you very much. So before I begin, I would like to share something with you. These are my titles. They tell you what I've done, what I've achieved, but I'm not standing here today because of any of these titles. I am standing here as a Khaliji woman with a responsibility to this organization, to this country, and to this region. You see, 3 years ago, I was studying my doctoral research on what I believed would be the greatest challenge that the Gulf Cooperation Council and all its countries would be facing, which is how to future-proof workforces in the face of artificial intelligence, focusing on our national citizens. During that time, I, like many of you, contracted COVID-19. And due to an underlying condition, within 2 weeks, I was in the ICU, my organs began to fail, and my family were told to come and say their goodbyes. 6 weeks later, I left the ICU in a wheelchair, and I was told I would never walk again. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in that moment, I didn't care about my titles, I didn't care about what car I drove, I didn't care about any of the material impacts. You know, you have a conversation with God, and I had a conversation with God, and I said, if I was to survive this, I would use everything I know, everything I have learned, all the skills I have for impact for this region, for our people, to make sure we have a rightful place in the economies that we are building. So that is why I'm standing in front of you today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Now that commitment, my doctoral research, I turned it into my book, a gift to every CEO in the Khalij on what nationalization means, how to reskill all our workforce, and how to ensure that we put citizens at the forefront of this change. So now let's talk about the reality that our region is facing. According to PwC, artificial intelligence impact on the Middle East economy by 2030 will be $320 billion by 2030. The UAE alone is expecting 13 to 14% of its gross domestic product to come as a result of AI. $135 billion is what Saudi Arabia has committed across all its digital transformation initiatives for Saudi Vision 2030. And the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia are in the top 10 of the world rankings for digital transformation and the AI race. Now, the paradox that we have is that our economies are digitizing faster than ever. Our workforce systems are still optimized for the world that we're leaving behind. So ladies and gentlemen, today I'm not here in any of my titles. I'm here as a Khaliji woman, as I've said, with a responsibility, as a researcher to present you with the data, and as a storyteller to tell you why the data matters. There's a false divide that you probably all see within your workforce structures. We have two very national priorities that are very important, but they're running separately. Digital transformation, which usually has a board-level overview and oversight with massive budgets that's running at immense speed, as I'm sure most of you spend a lot of your evenings and weekends working on your digital transformation, right? We also have nationalization, which usually is driven by policy mandates, by compliance, and is usually driven out of HR, whereas digital transformation is driven out of technology. And with nationalization, usually it is focused on placements of nationals in traditional roles, some of them that might not exist in the next few years. So this creates a paradox, because if we keep nationalizing roles that automation will replace, we are building tomorrow's unemployment today. Now, fragmentation has quantifiable costs. 67% of transformation are delayed due to skill shortages and misalignment. 20 to 50% of project budgets are the result of rework when knowledge walks out of the door. That's how much you are spending every time you have to replace your project resources. 70% is the current rate for digital transformation failure, and 30 to 40% is the turnover rates for employees working on a transformation. So the risks are quantifiable. Projects take longer, they cost more, and every time knowledge walks out the door, you have to start all over again. So why should this converge? I mean, the data speaks it, but from a perspective of digital transformation, if you put nationals at the center of your digital transformation, you ensure that the transformation is, number one, sustainable. You make sure that our citizens are learning future-ready skills, and you make sure that it is future-proof. So if mistakes happen due to projects, amazing, but they're not happening as a result of capability shortages. So let's talk about what is actually changing in the world of work. 65% of the jobs that the GCC will have don't even exist yet. 44% of the skills will change by 2027 of the jobs that are existing today. And 45% of all jobs, tasks will be impacted as a result of AI. And now it's easy to say, oh, wow, the whole job is going to disappear. That's not the case. If we focus on prediction, if we focus on adaptability instead of prediction, we get to future-proof our organizations. So the question is no longer if jobs will change, but how fast and what are we doing about it? So when we look at disruption, we can bucket it under 3 levels, right? We have roles that are going to disappear. They're going to become fully automated or digitized and require no human involvement. They will be redesigned. Some roles will become AI-enabled. I call myself an AI-enabled professional, and a lot of roles will become AI-enabled roles. And then there's going to be some jobs that will be completely redefined and even created as a result of future-proofing. But what does that mean for jobs that will disappear completely? See, even if the job disappears, the skills will not. Because all of us have changed jobs within our careers several times and taken our skills with us. And so even if the job does not exist anymore, the employee in that job has a number of skills that can be utilized and transferable into different areas of the organization. In fact, I had lunch with the wonderful team at Gulf Bank yesterday, and they've told me what they're actually doing with their bank tellers. They are rotating their bank tellers across different departments because guess what bank tellers have? Institutional knowledge, understanding of the customer, and understanding of how banking actually works on the ground. So these are not people to get rid of. These are people that you can use in different areas of your organization. So the human advantage. The winners will be those who invest in human transformation and not digital transformation. Because at the end of the day, people transform, technology does not. Let's talk about future-proofing. So a lot of people think, oh my God, future-proofing is I have to know everything ahead of time. I have to be able to predict the change that's coming. Yes, a small element of that is, but a large element is about building capabilities on the ground, making sure that your people have the capabilities to carry this knowledge with them. Transformation fails because of capability gaps and not because of the technology. When I was a director of digital transformation, we spent an ungodly number of money on a completely new tech stack, which we built from scratch on the cloud, state of the art. And at the end of that, the utilization of that technology was minimal because there was no workforce transformation strategy underneath that. And that's what I do today, ladies and gentlemen. I help organizations work on their workforce transformation roadmap that goes under their digital transformation roadmap, which is critical because not a lot of companies are even thinking about the workforce elements, because the same dollar that you put into technology needs to be put into people. The future-proof framework. So my book, which I mentioned, some of you will get a copy of it later, I'm told by the organizers, but this is a summary of the framework. The foundations are, of course, as Mustafa mentioned earlier, culture. Your culture eats strategy for breakfast. If you are in an organization where your employees don't have psychological safety to come up with new ideas, raise their hands, ask questions, not be scared that they're going to lose their roles, that is just a core component of any transformation. Followed by data. You need data. What's happening in your industry? Do we know the top 5 capabilities that we are going to need in the next 5 years to still be competing at this level? How are we going to keep our customers? Because now it's not just about gaining new customers, it's actually about keeping the customers you already have. Because if you are not using technology, other organizations are using technology. And partnerships. So coming from the banking industry, the aviation industry, we are very much like this. You know, we want to do everything ourselves. We have the best knowledge. We bring up, the best consultants. But at the end of the day, partnering with startups, partnering with government institutions will give you that rigor and that adaptability to have a new mindset, learn new skills, etc. And then on top of that is, of course, workforce adaptability. The best organizations of the future will not be the ones that have the most money. It will be the ones that learn quickly. And it's learning, but then applying the knowledge that you are learning into the organization. Training and learning and development as a function will all change. Digital competence. It's a requirement of every employee in your organization to have basic digital literacy, just to make sure that they're adapting. Leadership readiness. Your leaders need to walk the talk. National alignment. Align your nationalization strategy with your digital transformation strategy. So what does future-ready organizations look like? So, for example, the first one is they're not going to be organizations that are job-focused. They're going to be organizations that are capability-focused. Capability at an organizational level, at a departmental level, at an individual level. You are going to be hiring for mindset and training for skill. Because training, when it's done right, is actually the easiest thing. But if you have someone that does not have the right mindset for adaptability, it's simply not going to work. Purpose-driven localization instead of competitiveness. Who are you competing with? Are your employees at the front line of that? And HR, not as a paper-pushing function, but as capability architects of the future. And so the leadership mandate for HR professionals, it's a strategic engine. Future-proof HR is to build a future-proof organization. You need to start with a future-proof HR first. That is the responsibility of every single one of you in this room. The speed your people evolve defines how fast your organization will transform. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave you with this. If we do not converge nationalization with digital transformation, we are building tomorrow's unemployment today. Thank you very much. I think we do have around 6 minutes for questions. Are we okay to take questions? Yep, okay. I've been given the green light, so questions. Did you want to? Yeah?
All right, so let's do it 2 in 1.
Okay.
Whoever asks Ms. Dua a question will get a copy of her book. Deal? All right. So, after this presentation, I'm sure you have questions. So, who would like to ask Ms. Dua a question?
For a copy of the book, no one?
Abdullah.
Please go ahead. I think I can hear you. I don't know if everyone else can.
I want everyone else to hear.
Okay, brilliant.
Hi, Dua. Thank you for taking this question. So, as you know, we kind of had a conversation earlier, and as you were doing your research in your book, one of the organizations you actually did a book on is actually Bobian Bank. So this is very fascinating for the bank as well. But I'm curious, what other industries in Kuwait or in the GCC that you specifically tackled for the purposes of your research?
Interesting question. Thank you very much, Abdullah. Yes, Kuwait is actually one of the countries that was my research topics in my doctoral research because, and this is my first time in Kuwait, so I'm honored to be here, because Kuwait is doing phenomenal when it comes to nationalization, and Bobian Bank specifically has the highest nationalization for a digital bank in the region at 77%. So very proud of you guys. Other industries that will be greatly impacted is anything with a front line, insurance providers, telco organizations, even healthcare, anything that has a large front line where you put all your nationals or your workforce at the front line, that will be impacted. Thank you, Abdullah.
So it's your chance to have, and it's just easy way to get a copy of the book. Just ask a question. Gentlemen, please. Jericho, if you could pass him a mic, please.
How challenging was it to infer the data or collect the data? Was the research based on primary data or the secondary data?
It was based on both. So a lot of my research was based on US or European organizations that are reskilling their organizations. So for example, AT&T in the US is a prime example of that. They have reskilled 140,000 of their global employees into roles of the future. And they've done that seamlessly while employees were working at the same time. So as long as employees kind of know the transformation journey that they're undertaking, they are in for the ride. It's the ambiguity that people do not like. Secondly, primary data, a lot of it was through annual reports of different banks. I was in the banking sector at the time, so a lot of it was on banks here, specifically in the Khalij.
That's great.
Thank you.
See, guys, I have a really big competitor in the market. Mr. Mustafa did a really good job with the giveaways. So we need more interaction, or we will have to go to the lucky draw. It's your option.
Yes.
Ajibola, please.
Okay, that was a beautiful presentation. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I have this question. Some organization, their inclination towards future-proofing is basically buying. They're not interested in building.
Yep.
Okay, so just take, for example, football club, Arsenal, Barker, some nurture, some just want to poach and not build.
Yep.
So how do you sell to such organization that the strategy, since what has worked for them for 20 years is not to build, is to get to the future, poach who they need, and they've been competing well. So how do you sell to such an organization that you need to future-proof your workforce since they don't believe in building them for the future, since they buy?
So I work in Dubai, and I'm based in Dubai. And in the UAE, the Emiratization percentage is around 12%. And what that means is that the UAE is constantly bringing talent in, right? And that works. I'm not saying that doesn't work. What happens is you need to ensure that your nationals and your workforces are actually future-proofing in tandem to bringing in the expertise. So bring in the expertise by all means, because if the expertise is not local here in the region, you are going to have to bring it in externally. But you can still do it at the same time. And you can make sure that succession and knowledge is transferred across. And so for the organizations that don't believe in future-proofing, AI will show them. It's just a matter of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. Joriko, if you could please pass her a mic.
Are we keeping track of how many books we have?
Yeah, so we still have 2 more copies.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Dua, you had mentioned that even if jobs change, the skills will not. It could be transferable to a different role, right? So my question is it the responsibility of the HR to build the capabilities that can be transferred to another role, or is it the responsibility of the employee himself?
I believe it's a partnership. HR can present employees with the opportunities to learn, with the opportunities to go into different roles and what's available. But if the employee is not a self-starter and someone that has a growth mindset to want to learn, it's never going to work. So it's a partnership on both ends, in my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, so we got one final last copy of Ms. Dua's book, Future Proof Your Workforce. And it looks that it will go to Mr. George. So please, please pass him a mic.
Thank you. This is exactly what's worrying me these days, that everybody's preparing for whatever is next technology and not really investing in the people. So I totally agree with your approach. How would you respond to some of these technologies that say, yeah, the technology will update and upgrade itself? In fact, there's a lot of companies that are already assuming that that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to let the AI agents run that. And whenever the next thing needs to be implemented, we download it, implement it. Help me to let them know why they still need to invest in people.
Well, investing in people is who's going to run the technology, who's going to make sure it's factual. I love AI, I love ChatGPT, but I don't trust it with numbers, with dates, with facts, with figures, because it hallucinates, it makes stuff up, and as a doctoral student, as a researcher, as an executive, it's my credibility that's on the line. It's not AI. If I make a mistake, it's not AI. I can't say, oh, ChatGPT gave it to me. What does that make me look like, right? So it's from a credibility perspective for you, for your customers, for your organization to stand up there with pride on what you are selling. You are going to need the humans.
That's right. Thank you so much, Ms. Dua.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone, for participating.